Let's talk about trust. Let's talk about wills. I'm Brenton Begley, attorney and partner with McIntyre Elder Law, and I want to talk about the difference between a trust and a will and whether or not you need both. So the first thing to determine is whether or not you need a trust. Really, everybody should have a will. And if you think about a will should be thought as the last line of defense, okay? So if I have a will in place, I want it to be there, but only if I absolutely need it. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, a will is a guide through the probate process. And if you've watched any of our videos before, or heard me speak about this before, been to a seminar, you understand that one of the goals you should have in estate planning is to avoid probate, because it's a long, difficult, expensive process to go through, and it is the opportunity for a creditor to come after the estate. So avoiding probate is very helpful as a goal. But what is a will? A will is a guide through the probate process. So what a will should serve as is if you have to go through probate. So even though you've set everything up to avoid probate, you've planned to avoid probate, sometimes things fall through the cracks. Could be an asset, or there could be litigation that's necessary after a person passes away. And the estate would be involved in that litigation, and there you would have the probate process engaged and the will would be necessary. So if you have a will, you should think of it as the last line of defense, not the thing you should rely on, because if you rely on the will, you're going to go through probate. Now, there's many ways to avoid probate. A trust is one of them. Now, typically with a trust, you're not only just avoiding probate, you can also use it as a tool to help protect assets. So it might be appropriate in that scenario too. So to determine whether or not you need a trust, we need to know what assets you have, whether or not you need a trust to avoid probate with those assets, and we need to know what assets you have and whether or not those can be protected by a trust during your life, not just to avoid probate. And then lastly, we need to know what your goals are, okay? We need to know what it is that you want from, your estate plan, and a trust may help facilitate those things. So whether a trust is right for you, it depends. Now, if you do have a trust in place, then you should absolutely also have a will in place. Now, you don't want these two documents to contradict each other. So what the will should do is it should be a companion to the trust. It should say, if I forgot to put something in my trust during my life, it goes into my trust at my death. We call this a pour-over will or a companion will. And what that does is it gives consistency among the documents. So your estate plan does not contradict itself, and it gives you the opportunity to make sure everything flows through that one filter, the trust. And the trust will have its own terms of distribution like you would normally think would be contained in a will. For example, it'll say, these are my pieces of tangible personal property. I want these to go to these folks, right? And then the rest, everything else that I have, to be split in this way among these people, okay? You can have all sorts of ways that you list that out, whether it's sell my house, split it equally, keep some money in trust for my grandchildren for their education, whatever it is that you want. And we determine what your goals are to determine whether or not a trust would be helpful. But generally speaking, you should have a will, and whether or not a trust is appropriate for you is something that you have to determine by sitting down with an attorney. So if you have questions about trust, about wills, about avoiding probate, or anything that we do, which is estate planning and elder law and litigation, by the way, give us a call, 704-259-7040, or visit our website, mcelderlaw.com, for your free consultation.